Meeting of the Board of Adjustment for the City of Tarpon Springs, June 25th, 2014 is called to order. Could I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Darby,
Here.
Mr. Delgado,
Here.
Mr. Fran,
Here.
Mr. Cole, Mr. Hassick,
Here.
Chairman King.
Here. Okay, for all those present, the meeting tonight is a quasi-judicial meeting, meaning that the decision we make this evening will be based on testimony and evidence received from witnesses during this proceeding. So everybody who is planning on testifying or providing evidence this evening needs to stand and be sworn in.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give in the proceeding is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Okay, the first application on the agenda is number 14-25, Cooley. Would the applicant please come forward?
You going to represent the application? You need to swear him in. He didn't swear.
He needs to be sworn in?
Yeah.
Okay. He needs to be sworn in.
Can you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give in the proceeding is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
And
Okay, come forward and state your name and address for the
Yeah.
record, and then,
staff report
You want to
first?
go through the,
oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. You can-
I skipped something. If you can just hold on 1 second, the staff is supposed to give their presentation first.
Thank you. This is application 14-25. The property is owned by Mr. Cooley. This is Lot 33, Block 7 of Lutine Shores subdivision. The property is currently joined with with 234 High Street. The specific variance request being asked is for the variance to the minimum lot area and the minimum lot width requirements. Essentially, what you're doing is establishing this lot again as a legal non-conforming lot of record such that it can be built on with a single-family home. The proposed lot area will be 5,934 square feet, and the lot width 50.56 feet. The normal required minimum lot area is 7,000 square feet and a minimum lot width of 60 feet. If you recall, I think you've done a few of these before, a couple of these in the past. In 2012, the Board of Commissioners amended our code to allow the Board of Adjustments to grant lot area and lot width variances for properties that meet certain criteria. Essentially, it has to be at least a legal non-conforming lot of, an original platted lot of record at a minimum, and that it cannot be, in the past, could not have been used or joined with another lot such that it had to be used for setbacks for the adjoining lot. Lot 33 was platted in 1928. The only change to it in its original dimensional configuration was the vacation of Lake Boulevard right-of-way, which did add 25 feet to the front of the lot. The applicant has now dedicated that back as a drainage and utility and ingress-egress easement to the city to provide, continued frontage, if you will, for the lot. Under the review criteria for non-conforming lots of record, number one, the lot consists of at least one entire lot of record on the effective date of this code. The subject property is one lot of record plus the 25-foot vacated right-of-way for Lake Boulevard. And it did meet the code at the time that it was platted, so it does meet that criteria. On number two, the lot was not created in violation of a previous zoning ordinance. The lot was created in the early 1900s and was consistent with the zoning regulations at that time. And number three, the lot was not combined with a neighboring lot under common ownership in order to allow the existing improvements on the neighboring developed lot to meet applicable setbacks. As I stated earlier, Lot 33 is it's under common ownership with 234 High Street, which is kind of off to the side and to the south. But that did not rely on this lot in any way to meet its applicable setback requirements, so it does meet that criteria. As a result of public correspondence, I do have a public notice. I do have one letter of support from Joyce Pappas, who resides at 220 High Street, and just states that she's in favor of the application and thinks that the property should be developed. So that is part of the public record. And I have had at least one person come into the office, and their concern really was, would this, if the lot is allowed to be developed, how would it impact stormwater in the area? And I explained to the person at that time that If, under the land development code and our rules, you cannot, when you build on a lot, you cannot adversely affect properties surrounding you. So, and that certainly would be held to at the time that the lot is built on. It's certainly, they can't make any existing stormwater or drainage requirements any worse. So, I don't know if that satisfied the people or not, but they didn't really express they were opposed or for it. They were simply concerned about the effects of stormwater in the area. The staff recommendation, the applicant has met all of the review criteria, and therefore the staff recommendation is to approve the request to reduce the lot area to 5,934 square feet and the lot width to 50.56 feet for a buildable lot. And of course, when they do build on the lot, they'll have to build to the zoning that's in place, which is R70. So I'll be happy to answer any questions at the appropriate time during the public hearing. Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions for staff? Okay, sir, just please state your name and address for the record and then proceed.
I'm Roger Johnson, representing the Coolies.
Okay, you can present any information that you think you need to in support of this
Renee pretty
application?
much covered everything.
Okay.
I had some concerns myself about stormwater on that site, being that the groundwater table is pretty high there. It fronts that canal as well, so you have tidal influx. And it's basically at the bottom of the bowl. So the high June tides brought in a lot, it was like 4-foot tides, and washed out half of that parcel basically over the seawall because it's not at the same elevation as the neighboring seawalls. So I had some concerns with that too, and I've kind of been trying to design something that might work. So.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for the applicant's representative? Okay, is there anybody here opposed to this application? I'm sorry, thank you, sir, you can have a seat.
Thank you.
Is anybody here to support this application? Okay, does the board have discussion regarding this application?
I move that we approve application 14-25.
Okay, I have a motion, and I need a second.
I second the motion to approve the application 14-25.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Could we have a vote, please?
Mr. Darby?
Affirmative.
Mr. Delgado?
Yes.
Mr. Fran?
Yes.
Mr. Hassick?
Yes.
Chairman King?
Yes. Okay, thank you very much. Your application has been approved. Okay, we now move on to application 1432, Lindiakis Properties LLC, and we'll hear the presentation from staff.
Thank you. This is application 14-32 for Lindiakis Properties. The request is to reduce the required wetland buffer, waive the sidewalk requirement, and reduce the rear yard setback for a new townhome development. This application is associated with several other applications. This is kind of the first step that they needed to get through. This will be a townhome development up on off of North Jasmine Avenue. The property locations are 615, 625, and 631 North Jasmine. The property is zoned RM10, and the proposal is the overall proposal is for 95 units, which is well under their allowable density, and which I think you'll see why in a few moments. Under the code requirements section, the wetland and shoreline buffer requirement, in this particular instance, a wetland buffer is 15 feet, is required along all jurisdictional wetlands. There is a large jurisdictional wetland that kind of sits in the middle of this property, and that in conjunction with a Florida Power, now Duke Energy, easement through the property as well, it's making the property very difficult to deal with. Another requirement is for the sidewalk. This would be along Spruce Street to the north. As a condition of the issuance of a certificate of occupancy, the sidewalk shall be constructed for the length of the site frontage along all abutting improved streets. So for Spruce Street, they are requesting a waiver to that. And then the last variance that they're asking for is a variance to the required rear yard setback, reducing it from 15 feet to 7.5 feet. And again, this is just really trying to make this project work to a degree that is feasible. As I stated, the applicant proposes to subdivide the subject property into 95 single-family detached townhomes. As proposed, this will be a two-phase project. The first phase, which does include a 3.24 acre wetland, 36 townhomes, stormwater pond, pool, and clubhouse. Currently on that portion of it, there's a horse stable, an assisted living facility, and a home. And all that will be removed. And then the second phase will include the 1.53 acre wetland, 59 townhomes, and a stormwater pond. That portion of the site also includes the Florida power easement. Under the review criteria, the need for the requested variances arise out of the physical surrounding shape, topographical conditions, or other physical or environmental conditions that are unique to the specific property involved. When you look at this site as a whole, again, the presence of and the location of the wetland and the desire to maintain the wetland, as well as the Florida power easement that essentially they will not allow anything under that easement as well, is really constraining the usability of the property. With regard to the wetland buffer specifically, the calculated square foot of the actual encroachment is 2,481 square feet, and the applicant is actually proposing to set aside 22,920 square feet of additional upland buffers as a mitigation for that required encroachment. They're not specifically considered as part of the variance approval criteria. Staff feels that it's important to acknowledge that the combination of requirements placed on this project for wetland buffers, minimum setbacks, and infrastructure requirements puts the applicant in the position of experiencing significant hardship as they attempt to satisfy various regulatory requirements. And denial of the variances may very much adversely affect the project to the point of actually not being able to do the project, or to vastly reduce the scope of the project. The wetland buffer and the rear setback variances do not create additional impacts on neighbors. These are internal to the site, so there's no real external impacts that are expected. Under number 2, the criteria, special circumstances have not been self-created. We have a positive finding that these are not self-created hardships. Number 3, literal enforcement. We do find that the literal enforcement of the code would deny the same development rights to that property that other owners enjoy in this area of the city. The minimum required variance to reduce the wetland buffer from 15 to 0, and the minimum required for the rear setback is to reduce it from 15 to 7.5. So they're asking for the minimums necessary, and granting the variance will not confer any special privilege. Again, recognizing that this area is constrained by wetlands and easements that are unique to this property. And we do not find that granting the variance is detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to the property or improvements in the area. No financial considerations are part of this application or associated with the applicant. Otherwise, regarding the presence of non-conforming uses, that again is not applicable to this request. Specific to the sidewalk waiver, as I stated, normally a sidewalk would be required along the Spruce Street frontage. If you look at the survey, you'll see that at its closest point, the existing pavement is within 2 feet of the property line, so it's difficult at best without reconstructing portions of the roadway to meet the requirements of putting in a sidewalk. The city also has design funds to complete at least the design and eventually the connection of Spruce out to US 19. And so at that point in time, it would be more appropriate to address that whole street for sidewalks. So basically, on the review criteria for the sidewalks, we find that they do meet the criteria and are recommending a waiver for that particular sidewalk requirement. Under public correspondence, again, I've had one person come in and speak to me about this application. Once they learned that everything was really internal to the site and explained the sidewalk situation, they had no problems with the variances that were being requested. The staff recommendation, the applicant has met all the review criteria, therefore the staff recommendation is to approve the request to reduce the wetland buffer from 15 feet to 0, to reduce the rear setback from 15 feet to 7.5 feet, and a waiver to the sidewalk requirement along Spruce Street for new townhome development with the following conditions. Number one, the reduction in the wetland buffer is only applicable to those areas shown on the wetland upper buffer compensation plan prepared by Dennis M. Simpson, P.E., and received by the city on May 23rd, 2014, which is this exhibit that actually identifies the encroachment area and the new buffer area that's being set aside. And with that, I will be happy to answer any questions at the appropriate time in the public hearing process. Thank you.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for staff? Okay, so just to clarify, you know, our waiver of our allowing the encroachment on the existing wetlands is conditional upon these,
The buffer is being provided.
okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Would the applicant come forward? Thank you very much. Just state your name and address and.
There we go. Good evening. I'm Bill Conrad, and I'm the representative for the applicant. The owner is here also, and I'm a land planner. And we've been working with staff sometime to move the project forward and develop the plans and approve the plans. So this is part of that ongoing process. So, and basically, I mean, we don't want to be redundant, so basically we just concur with staff and their recommendation. I think they've done an excellent job of identifying the issues and addressing the questions related to the variance. And we're here and we're happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you very much.
Great, thank you, sir.
Is there anybody here to speak in opposition to this application? Okay, and I think I've accounted for everybody, so is there anybody here to speak in favor of it? No, okay. All right, is there any discussion on the board regarding this application? Okay, then I'll take a motion.
I'd like to move a motion that we approve application 1432.
A second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Could we have a vote, please?
Mr. Darby?
Yes.
Mr. Delgado?
Yes.
Mr. Fran?
Yes.
Mr. Hasek?
Yes.
Chairman King?
Yes. Thank you very much. Okay, we're on to staff comments.
Just to give you a bit of a heads up for the people that haven't talked to you before the meeting, as you know, Mr. Chapman resigned about 3 weeks ago, and he is gone now. He's down to Pinellas County. I have also resigned, and my last day will be July the 3rd. So for the foreseeable future, until the city does obtain some planning staff, I'm not sure that, you know, how applications will be handled. I suspect they'll just be kind of rolled forward until they get staff available. So stay tuned for that. I haven't worked with hardly any of you in the past. It's been a long time since I staffed Board of Adjustments myself, but if people don't tell you, you know, we very much appreciate your service, and it's invaluable to the city. So thank you.
Board comments.
I'd just like to say thanks to Renee for the excellent job tonight.
Thank you.
And along the lines of resignation, I'm buying a house in Palm Harbor, so sometime in October or November, I'm going to have to resign too.
Okay. Any other?
Well, I'd just like to put a comment in the record, that if there is such a thing as a record. I really appreciated the work that Rodney did. He really helped us out a lot. And I'm sorry to see him go, and I wish him good luck in his new job with the county.
I will pass that along. I will see him down at Pinellas County, so I'll make sure that gets to him. Thank you.
Well, I'll look forward to working with both of you in Pinellas County.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, this meeting's adjourned.
Good job.
Good job.
Wow, that was amazing.
Yeah.
I was really in the zone there until I tried to skip staff presentations.
Good night.